This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the season finale of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series, live tonight from the World Center of Racing, the Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. I am James Pike, the voice of Podium eSports, alongside Mr. David Schildhouse up in the booth, and Cisco Scaramouza down in the production booth, probably not terribly far away from pit road. And David, let's go away to the season finale, shall we? I have all sorts of shades of Daytona USA in my head because the 90s are the greatest decade ever, and that's irrefutable and completely unquestionable. But within the context of tonight, it's going to be a special night for all these drivers because no matter what version of this track, be it the oval or the road course we're running tonight, this is a special place to come race, regardless of where you are.
Thanks, James. Good evening, race fans. Good to be here with you on championship night on a Friday, wherever you may be joining us from. Yes, so good to be here. It seems like it was only yesterday. We were opening up the season at Sebring, now closing it here at Daytona. Only fitting to do it sort of reverse order. A lot of the series kick off here. We will wrap up here tonight, and it's hard to imagine a better setting to do it. The sun setting over Daytona International Speedway. It's so picturesque, and this is a iconic circuit for these cars to come out to and run. You think, of course, the 24 hours of Daytona, one of the best endurance races that you could find, and these guys are going to go around here for 45 minutes tonight in their Porsches. I'm excited to see it. I love this track. I love this layout.
I think it brings out the best in the cars, and it also brings out the best in the drivers.
Should be a lot of fun here. And even though most people know Daytona, you probably don't know Daytona like our friend Jack Stiles. So we turn to Jack for our final hot lap video of the season to show you how to get around this Daytona International Speedway road course.
Daytona International Speedway is home of the final round of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series presented by Podium eSports right here on the iRacing eSports Network. We're on board with Jack Stiles. I'm Cisco Scaramouza. Let's go for a lap. Braking hard into turn number one. Make sure you use the markers on the right side. No ABS, no electronic helpers to help you manhandle this car around turns number two there. Make sure you stay on lines. You get on the braking point for turn number three, the international horseshoe here. Make sure you get that late apex. Use all the runoff room you can here out to the curb and back onto the racing surface here as we head for the kink. Now you cannot take this flat out like you can in a GT3 or in a prototype. You have to lift ever so slightly back onto the brakes into the west horseshoe. Once again, a late apex on these horseshoes. Make sure you're using all the runoff room you can here, not as much as the first one because you have that grass in the curb right there. Now heading back towards the oval, one file slow speed corner here into the infield. Watch out, saw the bumps on that Porsche there. Coming back out onto the oval here, heading through NASCAR turn 1 and 2. You have to be careful, but this is going to be one of the highest percentage passing zones of the racetrack. Make sure you're being aware and make sure you're blocking if you get the chance. You've got plenty of draft maneuvers possible. So we head down the back straightaway. There are the braking zones, 200 meters, 100 meters on the brakes. Once again, hit the curb to the left, hit the curb to the right. And as long as you keep the car straight here, use all the curb you can there. But watch out for a slowdown penalty if you are not careful. This has been a fantastic series. We're getting to wrap things up here tonight. So really looking forward to this race as we head through NASCAR turn 3 and 4. Of course, once again, draft passing opportunities aplenty as we come down the super stretch back towards the start-finish line. That's a lap around Daytona. Let's see what these guys can do for 45 minutes here at the World Center of Racing.
So there is your hot lap around Daytona International Speedway, and it's a pretty easy track to know just with all the laps that you run during the 24 hours, but a difficult one to master, I think, in a lot of ways. We'll see how the drivers tackle that this evening. But at this point, as always, we like to interview someone connected to PCA or Porsche here in North America, and tonight is no exception. We have this evening the national president for the Porsche Club of America, Tom Gorsuch, here with us. And incidentally, Tom is a member of the Space Coast region, which is the region that contains Daytona International Speedway. So, Tom, bit of a fitting closing interview to the season, I suppose.
Right. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So, Tom, you are the national president of the PCA, but you didn't start, obviously, as the national president of the PCA. So talk about your work within the Space Coast region and how you were able to work your way up to the national presidency.
Right. So, PCA is predominantly a volunteer organization. So I'm just like every other volunteer. And I started out, raised my hand one day. I thought I would help out in my region. Was membership chair, worked my way up to be eventually a president of my region, which was it's a good bit of work, but is also a lot of fun. I started meeting more and more people. The more I volunteered, the more friends I made. So I really enjoyed that. I got asked to be national membership chair. That's when I joined the national staff. That was about 10 years ago. And from there, became national treasurer, national vice president, and then as of January this year, became president. So I put a pretty long investment into the club, but this is where my friends are. So
certainly
I enjoyed every minute of it.
Not a bad place to be at all. Now, as national president, what are your duties and what do you do for the PCA?
Yeah, so the board of directors for PCA is the president of every region plus a few national staff folks, and I head up the board of directors and also the executive council. The executive council are 5 members who are voted on by the entire membership, and the executive council does mostly administrative oversight of the club, and then we run the board meetings where we make bigger strategic decisions. So I oversee all of that. We also have employees. We have some employees, not a lot, but we have some, and they're all mostly in Columbia, Maryland. And we oversee how the national office operates and making sure we have the right strategic goals and objectives for everybody there. So
that's a little bit about what Tom does within his role as the national president. But I also know and have been told by a few national staffs that you have been an avid fan of this series over the last 8 weeks. So what have you seen from your position as national president within this Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series? What stood out to you?
Right. So this is very exciting. I wish I was out there racing with y'all, but I spend more time in conference calls, I think. But it's something we were wanting to do, and we're excited that we're able to pull this first pilot program together. I haven't watched every race, but I've watched a lot of the races. It's just phenomenal, the realism and the level of racing, and how the strategy that plays out. It's just like watching a real race. So very excited about that. We've been on the road talking about this with regions this spring and showing them all the different races and helping with the exposure of that. So I think this is just the beginning. This is going to grow for sure, and we're really interested in everybody's feedback. And we're very, very excited about what can come of this as we move forward.
Well, Tom, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy week to spend some time with us here on the broadcast. And we hope that you sit back, relax, and enjoy this final race of the season from Daytona. Thanks for talking to us.
All right. Thanks, James. Bye.
So there's Tom Gorsuch, your national president of the PCA, and we get to turn our attention to the race. And there are two things I think to note within this, David Schellnhaus. The first is that we're going to use the day-to-night transitions that were introduced in the latest build of iRacing that came out at the beginning of March. So we're going to start at sunset and go into the evening. And second, normally we have an A race and a B race, but everybody's going to be in the same server tonight. So we have 43 cars to tell you about a starting grid here of 43 cars that we'll need to take you through, which will start with your pole sitter, Mr. Michael Polasek, who puts down a qualifying time of 1:47.043 to take the top spot. Billy Smith with a 1:47.113 will start in second. Third with an 913 of Leif Peterson. James Huth will roll off in the fourth position. Fifth with a 92 of Jason Lisner. William Yu will start from sixth. Seventh will be the 888 of Kyle Kammer. Liam Radzitis will start from eighth. Ninth will be Matthew Kikas, and Richard Minkler will start from 10th.
Lynn Wilson roll off from inside of row number 6. Mark Huth will be to his outside in 12th. Hamilton Smith and John Waltman will make up row number 7. Jeremy Mazzariello and Alberto Fonseca in row 8. David Stewart, Jason Stanley in row number 9, and Kenny Brown and Christopher Pies in row 10.
Trey Drawhorn will start from 21st. 22nd is where you'll find Jeffrey Smith. Robert Wilson will begin from 23rd. 24th will be the 0003 of Joseph Stiffel. Matthew Mitchell will roll off from 25th. 26th will be Charlie Yao. Igor Soykor starts from 27th. 28th will be Jason Morski. Richard Franco rolls on tonight from 29th. And 30th will be where you find Colin Thomas.
Bruce Robinson and Matt Hancock will come from the 16th row. Jonathan Shum and Juha Matanmaki from the 17th row. Donald Binkley, Michael Knighton in the 18th row. Jody Papora and Brian Himmelman in row number 19. Robert Corzin and Javier Trevino in the 20th row. Frank Centaur, James Sue, and Lane McNeil will round out the 43 car field here. James, a huge pack of Porsches ready to go at Daytona.
A very big field of Porsches to close out this final race of the season as we move to the track facts for this world-famous World Center of Racing. This is Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. We're running the road course, which tallies in at 3.56 miles or 5.73 kilometers in length. 12 turns here. And we begin in the sunset. Current sim time is just after 8 o'clock in the evening on iRacing Day, May 15th, 2019, the default day for all default racing in the sim. Track temperature is currently 77 degrees Fahrenheit, along with the ambient temperature. We've got 57% humidity and winds heading to the north at 2 miles an hour if you want the geography and the weather of tonight's race.
A beautiful night for racing here. We're going to crown a champion at the end of the 45 minutes, James, and a lot on the line from 2nd through 5th as well. These guys jam-pack in those top 5 positions. A lot to be raced for here at Daytona. Some guys are going to come away with smiles. Some guys, maybe not feeling so good.
Maybe not necessarily going to be the happiest of days, but for one driver, it's going to be a very, very entertaining ride to victory lane. And we'll find that out here along with the rest of you on the iRacing eSports Network as the pace car gets set to pull off. And we have the green flag for the final race of the Porsche Club of America season. We're underway here at Daytona, and Michael Polasek and Billy Smith, two of the top drivers in this series all year long, will lead them down into this very tight, narrowing apex turn 1. It tightens up on you as you come into it. Everybody through the front of the field will get through it pretty cleanly as they run side by side a little bit further back, but it is all Polasek and Billy Smith as they come down to the International Horseshoe for the first time.
Great job for Michael Polasek. Got through there cleanly and gets away from the rest of the field. Billy Smith about 5 or 6 car lengths behind him as they work up through the kink that is turn 4 and get set for the next hairpin of turn 5. High-speed left-hander here. Cannot go through there too wide. Everyone fights to get single file, and they will. Great job from everyone up front. The next big passing opportunity coming up here down in turn number 6.
Especially once you hit that kink, it narrows up very, very quickly, does this racetrack, and you almost have to be in single file to get through the second horseshoe and get back on into NASCAR 1 and NASCAR 2 as the leaders are making their way through that section right now. Polasek ahead of Smith, then Peterson, Huth, Lisner, Kamer has managed to gain a few spots, as has Lazitis, Minkler, as well as William Yu has slid back a few spots since the start. Came across the line after starting 6th, currently running, I believe, in the 11th position.
William Yu, indeed, they're in the 10th spot. Mark Huth right behind him. Richard Minkler in 9th ahead of you as they go into the bus stop here on the back straightaway. Got to be careful not to overrun these curves, get into that grass, so that's going to be a bad run through there. Everyone gets through clean and good passing opportunity if you can get it done early, get in there and outbrake somebody. But everyone's single file, showing a lot of patience here on the first lap as they work through NASCAR. Turns 3 and 4 up onto the banking, onto the front straightaway.
It's so easy coming through the horseshoe to try and jam on the brakes and lock it up on quarter entry. We've seen it happen so many times in the 24 hours as they complete the first lap here at Daytona. Billy Smith already giving pressure to Michael Polishek right on his rear bumper as they come through turn 1.
Billy Smith gave it a look to the outside, but that's not really the preferred way to get it done. You just get such a good tow down these straightaways, especially at Daytona, some of the longest straightaways we will see all season long. Coda comes to mind, but you got 2 of them here, the back straightaway and the front straightaway at Daytona, plus this run that they're on right now. So plenty of opportunity to use that draft that these cars will create to stuck up to the guy in front of you and move to the inside to try and execute a pass. Nothing cooking up front. Everybody's still single file. All the big players that we've talked about all the season, as Polishek completely missed that corner, and now Billy Smith closes in into the passing zone down into 6.
Billy Smith might have a good jump if he nails the exit of 6 and gets back on the NASCAR 1 and 2 well, but Polishek did a good job of getting back up onto the banking as well, so it's just going to be all about Billy Smith's ability to ride the draft and see if he can shuck up to the rear bumper of Michael Polishek as they come through turns 1 and 2. We remind you, while these two go after it, that we're going to have a pretty big list of friends and sponsors and partners to talk about this evening. As Billy Smith, I thought he might take a look coming into the bus stop, but he thought better of it. So it gives us a chance to remind you that the cameras for tonight's PCA SRS broadcast are by Istvan Below and Track Cams for Gourmets. If you want to use the cameras that we use here on the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series, as well as the cameras used by RaceBot, PTR TV, and many others, visit TrackCams22.com to pick out your package of track cameras today, as we have a better battle shaping up for the 3rd spot and maybe a battle shaping up for 1st as well. Can't tell if Billy Smith is going to put the pressure on Polishek this time, but he'll go to the outside to try and make the pass happen and then think better of it and fall back in line.
Second time in a row he's made the same move. He gets that great run, but Polishek does a great job defending the right lane, not giving up the inside. But Smith right there, right on the back bumper, just narrowly misses, hitting the left rear quarter panel of that number 45 Porsche. Leif Peterson on the back bumper, James Huth there as well, along with Jason Lisner. 5 cars under a blanket here. Billy Smith showing a lot of pace, but a lot of patience to match it as he follows Michael Polishek around this racetrack. We've seen all season long, James, Billy Smith be super patient and just ride behind guys, trying to force them into mistakes so he doesn't even have to try and make a hard pass on them. Seems to be doing the same thing here on lap number 3.
I think the most interesting thing about this little lead group is that while Polishek is starting to switch up his line and just full out block Billy Smith in some cases on corner entry, you've got Peterson and Huth and Lisner that are beginning to come up to the rear bumper of this group. So we'll see if Billy Smith will push it with the draft this time. And as we slide a little bit further back here, not too many side-by-side battles on track. A few packs that are definitely worth noting. But everybody, for the most part, in single file, although this track changes dramatically depending on where you use the draft to catch someone and whether or not someone gets a run on you, especially in these hard braking zones. I think of coming into turn 1, the International Horseshoe, the bus stop, all places where you can get a run on someone.
Yeah, there's plenty of passing opportunities on this track, James. That's a great point. As the sun continues to set, you can see the headlights start to poke out more and become more prevalent as they work around the racetrack. And that's going to be an added bit of difficulty for these guys as they go into the night. Liam Radzitis works to the outside of Kyle Kamer as they're side-by-side for the lead down into turn 1 as well. 2 good battles on the track.
Really good stuff from between Radzitis and Kamer, and then Polishek there still hanging on over Smith, and then Leif Peterson. I'm a little surprised we haven't seen more from James Huth and Jason Lisner putting together a good run so far, but Radzitis and Kamer definitely the battle to watch out for here as it stands. And 2 men who have plenty of experience in this series and with the PCA as well. You've got Kamer, currently living in Indianapolis, Indiana, but a member of the Ohio Valley region. And then Radzitis, who is probably the biggest hero of the Upper Canada region, or at least one of them, the Aurora, Ontario driver, putting in a good show for them week on week here in the PCA SRS.
He also carries one of the largest fan clubs that we see in the YouTube chat box as well. So he gets his shouts throughout the race. Everyone loves to come out and see Liam watch and race around here each and every Friday in another series, as well as he is up inside the top 7 in those points-paying positions. So a great run for him so far. They seem to be on pace to cut 26 laps here tonight, James. Working lap 4 right now. Long lap times around Daytona, about 1:47. But for Liam Rudzitis, he makes a move to the inside of Kamer going into the bus stop. Kamer not necessarily giving it to him, but he'll back out of it as they get to the first bend. So put Rudzitis up to 6th.
He almost backed out of it too much because that gave an opportunity for William Yu in the 07 to come right up on the rear bumper of Kamer. So now Yu will go underneath Kamer and go grab another position. So I think that should put Yu up into the 7th spot, and Kamer will slide back to 8. So give the Los Angeles region driver of the PCA one more spot on track.
As one more time, Billy Smith goes to the outside of Michael Polasek down into turn 1. He actually led at the stripe that time by, but Polasek, again, too strong on the inside. Smith, no opportunity to go for the crossover. Just no room to do it here through turn 2, setting up for the International Horseshoe. Polasek running a perfect line to defend each and every time they get into the braking zone.
Really good stuff from Polasek, who's very clearly shown himself to be one of the most composed drivers. But how much longer is he going to be able to hang on to that, as you've got 4 drivers sitting right there within maybe a second and change at this stage, right behind him, ready to pounce. Still, I think you're definitely already sweating a little bit, though. In fairness, if Billy Smith isn't careful, he'll have Leif Peterson in the 913 all over him to try and grab a position too.
Peterson's got a lot of pressure from behind from the gentleman racer James Huth in that number 12. You think back to, well, I think back to Watkins Glen for James Huth and everything that happened there as he got through by some unfortunate circumstances, and the way he gave those spots back and raced it out, of course, with Billy Smith. And that was a great move that established a great reputation for him, and find himself here in the 4th position as well. Another great run. Seems every time he hits the track, James Huth is one to contend with, and he's right up there in the points as well.
James Huth, the driver out of the Hudson-Champlain region, which covers most of the Albany, New York area and the Hudson River Valley in New York State. You know, anyone from the Empire State, you've got a man there running very well for you in that number 12 machine. And then Jason Lisner right behind him. And Lisner, if my memory serves me correctly, I believe hails from indeed the First Settlers region, which stretches that little strip of land in Virginia from Virginia Beach and Williamsburg, the old coast, right near where Jamestown is, which is where you get the First Settlers name, all the way up to parts of the state capital of Richmond, Virginia. So anybody in Eastern Virginia, you also have a man who's running very well in the 92 machine.
Jamestown, that's where you hail from, isn't it? Isn't that where you come from, Jamestown?
You can make the joke, but technically speaking, we can trace the family tree all the way back to Jamestown on my mother's side of the family, as a matter of fact. So there's a little bit of truth to that, Mr. David Schildhouse. And I suppose there's your fun fact of the evening as we watch Jeremy Mazzariello battle with Charlie Yao in the 17 for position on track.
Yeah, that's right inside the top 20 there. That's 18th, 19th, and 20th. Igor Soiker right there in 18th as well, leading him through into the kink, setting up for turn number 5. So just inside of the top 20, these guys having a whale of a battle. Nice job there. Charlie Yao, that's a car that's hard to miss, but as he works through here trying to pick up a position, these guys well back from the lead, but as we've seen week after week, James, pockets of racing all around each racetrack that we go to, and certainly no different here tonight. We look at ahead further in the field, Hamilton Smith, look at the run he's getting down the back straightaway on the outside of Mark Huth going into the bus stop. That is a difficult pass to make, James. Typically you want to do that to the left-hand side, but he gets it done from the right.
Huth gave him the spot. Hamilton Smith will move up a position, and that should put Hamilton Smith into the top 10. While they continue here under the lights of Daytona, we'll remind you that the Porsche Club of America is the largest single-marque car club in the world, with over 135 members across North America. There are also 145 PCA regions throughout the United States and Canada, so that you can get involved locally with fellow Porsche owners. If you're not already a member of the PCA, membership is only $46 a year. That includes a subscription to the award-winning Porsche Panorama magazine and access to the members-only section of the PCA.org website. To join PCA, visit www.pca.org/join-Porsche-Club-America. David Schildhouse, a lot of good battles all over this place and really good show. Might be worth sliding back to the 03 of Joseph Stoffel, who is running really, really tight there with Trey Jawhorn in that black and red and yellow machine. It almost makes me think of like a venomous snake, and I wonder if that might be the idea behind the paint scheme. Look at Jawhorn nearly lock it up and somehow hang on to it there in turn 5. Really tight stuff for Trey Jawhorn, but he manages to keep it in one piece, but lose his position right next to the 003 and have to regroup and go after it again.
I think the saying that you're looking for is red and yellow, kill a fellow. I almost got that one wrong. And then red and black, venom lack. I think that's what the saying is. And for Trey Jawhorn, another popular driver here in this series, usually has a lot of fans following him around, will fall into the draft of Joseph Stoffel. Now he'll go to the outside out of 2. Stoffel gives him just a little bit of room, but he backed out of it. Look at the run by Alberto Fonseca up to the back bumper. Just sort of a discombobulated exchange there. They'll all stay in single file through the bus stop on the back straightaway, and out they go back into NASCAR turn number 3, climbing the banking one more time. But for Jawhorn, he drew in close to the back bumper of Stoffel, couldn't do anything with it, as Stoffel didn't really give him a lot of room off of 2.
And I think more importantly, Jawhorn's a bit out of the way of the draft and won't necessarily get a good run on Stoffel in that 03, the same way that we've seen Billy Smith get a decent run on Michael Polasek for a good chunk of this race. He sort of backed out of it at the end of every straightaway, but you have to imagine at some point that Billy Smith is going to try and go for it in the season finale.
Well, if you're going to go for it, now's the time, because this is the last race. I mean, why would you leave anything on the track at this point? Let it all hang loose. And I think back to Road America when Billy Smith was doing the same thing, and they got into some trouble down in turn 5 over there, following Polasek around. And of course, Laguna Seca comes to mind with Polasek out front and wrecking in the corkscrew. So a lot of opportunities for things to go wrong, but Polasek continues to hold the lead. He's got to not think about those things, keep Billy Smith behind him, and he's doing a nice job.
Now watching Matthew Mitchell and Colin Thomas go after it as they come through the kink on their way to turn 5. This is a nice little group racing right around 20th, and you've got Bruce Robinson right there behind all of them trying to make things happen in that number 386 machine. So these three running well. As you see, looks like Mitchell got a little bit loose on corner exit there, so Thomas might be able to drive away just a little bit from these drivers. Thomas, the representative and the lone representative in this series from the Allegheny region of the PCA, which, if you know your mountains well, will definitely be a clue and give you very clear indication that Colin Thomas hails from the Steel City region, just right around the Pittsburgh area. That's the main city that is represented by the Allegheny region of the PCA.
Indeed, and finds himself in that 22nd position right now behind Colin Thomas as they go through the bus stop one more time. This is their 9th lap that they're on right now. Thomas sort of misses the second portion of it. Mitchell cuts him a break and backs out of it, but look at Bruce Robinson. He didn't back out of it. He gets a great run through the corners, goes up the banking all the way to the top lane to try and get a good run off the corner. Surprised he's not running behind the two in front of him to get that draft. Doesn't seem interested in doing that whatsoever. So it's sort of interesting that Bruce Robinson chooses not to follow in the draft, as Mitchell will pull to the left-hand side now of Colin Thomas as they go across the start-finish line.
Mitchell may be able to get the spot here for good on Thomas as they go into one, and Mitchell will just dive it down in there. Can he get on the brakes enough to get the thing loaded up? He will indeed. So Matthew Mitchell will gain the spot on Colin Thomas and move up into 21st. And as he moves up into 21st, we have a special double duty here from a feathered friend of ours who likes to take up residence in Lake Lloyd. He's got a little winter house that he likes to reside in during speed weeks and definitely doesn't mind the chance to jump in it once again. But in order to call him out, I usually turn things over to David Schillhouse. So David, if you would please.
It would be my pleasure. We'll make sure to keep him close since he's on the double dip tonight. If you would be so kind, please cue the Chuck.
As we bring you tonight's first trivia question of the evening. Hint, hint, and a friendly reminder before we play that first, employees and contractors of Podium eSports LLC aren't eligible to participate. And second is that only the first response from participants shall be counted. You get one response per person, per broadcast. Any responses after your first will be deleted from chat. So definitely think before you speak. And our first question will test your knowledge and see just how closely you've been paying attention to all of the PCA SRS races. A simple number, kind of, that we need from you all. We need you to tell us how many total YouTube page views has the PCA Sim Racing Series had so far coming into this evening. And if you can get within 1,000 views, you will come away with one of the very coveted PCA grill badges, courtesy of Jim Hegeg and the PCA National Office. So definitely a good prize to the line, and we'll see who in chat can go in and give us the number that we need.
That 1,000 over or 1,000 under, as William Yu had a little incident down there at the International Horseshoe, James. So he's going to fall outside the top 10, but that's a rule that just came to mind as you were reading that off. Is it 1,000 over or 1,000 under?
Within 1,000 without going over. Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha. Producers all in my ear telling me, make sure you get the facts right for the people. So there are the facts right for the people indeed. I think if we're going to bounce around on track, might be worth looking. I see Trey Drawhorn's in a pretty good battle, and I think that might be the one to watch, actually. So let's go back to Trey Drawhorn, since he's got a pretty big fan club here in the PCA SRS, and definitely a lot of folks that are paying attention to him. As Trey draws from the Chicago region of the PCA and covers the Chicagoland area, so that gets a very big AO from our producer as a fellow Chicagoland native. And we'll see. Still waiting for the right answer in trivia, by the way.
Hamilton Smith had a little bit of an off in the kink there, the back straightaway. Why am I forgetting the name of that complex? The bus stop. Thank you. Yeah, Hamilton Smith just fell outside the top 10 as well, as he completely got that one wrong and went through the grass. Didn't hit anything. Thankfully, all that big grass back there in the bus stop, nothing to hit, but he will fall back to the 12th position behind Christopher Pies. You talk about Trey Drawhorn. He's leading Joseph Stiffel. A huge dive to the bottom from Stiffel there into one. Oh, and they gets into him and he gets turned, James. He gets turned going into one. That was a very optimistic move, but Joseph Stiffel around in turn one off the front bumper of Trey Drawhorn with a late braking maneuver.
Now, you can't say that Stiffel wasn't going for it. He definitely had a pretty deep dive into the corner and just couldn't get it slowed up in time. Pretty simple math on that one, but Drawhorn will roll on and continue, and he will maintain 14th position over Alberto Fonseca. And look at that. We do indeed have a winner in trivia. And oh, goodness, I'm going to make sure that I don't mess this up. Brian Schramek, I think, or Schramek, one of the two, I'm fairly certain will be correct on that. But the total number we had coming into this evening was a very, very cool and collected 13,275 views. So congratulations to Brian for winning the first trivia question, and we'll have one more coming up for you a little bit later this evening, but not before we remind you that Porsche Club of America is also a host of plenty of club racing across North America, with over 2,000 licensed drivers and 32 sanctioned races per year. PCA Club Racing provides classes for all Porsche sports cars so members can enjoy safe, clean, and organized racing. For more information, visit www.pcaclubracing.org. As Billy Smith tried to look around the outside of Polasek again, he looks like he might be a little bit closer coming down to the International Horseshoe, and so now it's going to be all about whether or not Billy Smith decides to duck underneath Michael Polasek. He chose not to do it that time in the International Horseshoe. As you see, Leif Peterson struggled to get off the corner, so James Smith will go up into P3, and Jason Lisner might have the chance to go get fourth.
Yeah, that was a terrible exit from turn 3 for Leif Peterson. Really exposed himself to a couple moves there, and indeed, James Huth did exactly that. Lisner trying to follow him through, but Peterson regains his composure in that 4th spot and will fend off the advances for the time being. This fight for the lead has been so good each and every lap. Billy Smith takes a look and won. And I think he's just testing things right now. I think he's got better pace than Michael Polasek at this point, but he is just testing him, really throwing everything that he has at him to try and force him into a mistake. And he is giving him an absolute mirrorful. Really fun to watch here, James. Very entertaining stuff as we're getting close to that halfway point. They're working lap 12 right now. Down the back straightaway to the bus stop one more time. Billy Smith gets another great run, but it looks like he's not going to do anything with it.
He'll just sit back and wait and sit back and wait and sit back and wait. And that's been the story all night up to this point for Billy Smith. He's had the opportunity, had the chances, but just hasn't decided to pull the trigger yet. A lot of patience in the driver of the number 70 machine. But then again, if you're going sports car racing, if you're going endurance racing, that's definitely something you'll need to keep an eye out for. But this might be the chance. Billy Smith got a really good run off of turn 4. He'll be alongside Polasek as they come through the tri-oval. Smith, I think, is going to, at minimum, lead the lap. And if he hits the braking zone right, he might have a chance to go to the outside to get the lead from Polasek in turn 1.
Looks identical to what we saw a lap ago, and one more time, Michael Polasek does a masterful job of defending from the inside. That outside radius just way too much to try and make up there. Smith going to take a look into 3 to the outside here as well, so just continues to work the outside, but you can't leave the door open for James Huth there, as he almost did in the International Horseshoe. Huth is not going to mess around. If he sees that opening, he will certainly put the nose in there from his number 12, but nonetheless, they get back to single file through turn 4, setting up for 5. Billy Smith showing a lot of pace, but one more time into turn 5. Huth slides it a little bit, and I think I saw a little bit of a flash of the headlights there.
I have a feeling it wouldn't be a big surprise to see the headlights start flashing all over the place. But at this moment, I believe we are hitting halfway right as I speak. So we get the chance to bring you tonight's iRacing Midway Race Break, which is brought to you by iRacing, world's leading online racing simulation. Developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service, iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the world. iRacing is home to a wide variety of officially sanctioned series, with racing from the Australian Supercars, the Cars Tour, IndyCar, IMSA, NASCAR, the World of Outlaws, and more. And as we are halfway through the season finale at Daytona, Billy Smith is trying to run down Michael Polasek. He was the leader last time right at the stripe, but Polasek's got the spot for now. Huth, James Huth. Put a little James Bond action on his name there for good measure. A trick that I pull off every once in a while. But in either case, the man from the Hudson Champlain region runs in 3rd. 4th is Leif Peterson, and Jason Lisner currently runs in the 5th spot. 6th will be Liam Rudzitis. Kyle Kamer runs in 7th at the moment. 8th is the 15 of Matthew Kikis. 9th is the 34 of Mark Huth, and 10th is the 11 of Christopher Pines.
John Waltman currently scored in the 11th position. Hamilton Smith in 12th. William Yu, 13th. Trey Drawhorn in 14th. Alberto Fonseca, 15th. Jeffrey Smith in 16th. Joseph Stiffel, 17th. Igor Soiker in 18th. Charlie Yao, 19th. And Jason Morski in 20th.
21st is where you'll find Bruce Robinson. Colin Thomas runs in 22nd. 23rd is Matthew Mitchell, and 24th is Richard Franco. Jody Podpur runs in the 25th position. 26th belongs to Matt Hancock. Javier Trevino runs in 27th. 28th is David Stewart. Brian Himmelman currently finds himself in 29th, and 30th belongs to Jonathan Shum.
31st is going to be Jason Stanley. Donald Binkley in 32nd. Frank Santor in 33rd. Robert Corzin, 34th, first car 1 lap down. Jeremy Mazzariello, 35th. Lane McNeil, 36th. James Sue in 37th. Juha Matanmaki, 38th. Kenny Brown, 39th. Lynn Wilson in 40th. Robert Wilson, Michael Neiden, and Richard Minkler will be your last 3 cars scored here for that 43 car field.
Now that will conclude tonight's iRacing Midway Race Break from Daytona. With over 80,000 drivers on the service and over 80 laser scan tracks and cars to choose from, iRacing is the original esports racing game. For more information, visit iRacing.com today. And side by side again go Billy Smith and that very quick 45 of Michael Polasek. Smith I think he's gonna have to try and outbrake Michael Polasek on the outside at some stage. It's possible in turn 1 if you do it right. But you have to be very particular about how you do it and when you do it in order to nail it. Otherwise, you end up losing a significant amount of time. So Polasek will go back to the front, and Smith will continue to put the pressure on. And now here comes the chance. Here comes Billy Smith. Michael Polasek opened the door, and Billy Smith crossed over underneath him. And there's your first change for the race lead proper all night. Billy Smith clear of Michael Polasek for the first time tonight. He opened the door just for a bit, and it was all Billy Smith needed in the International Horseshoe. So Billy Smith, the points leader, now is your race leader at Daytona.
What a beautiful move from Billy Smith to get to the inside. Polasek was a little bit lazy in defending that inside lane like he'd been doing lap after lap, and Smith was there to take advantage of it. So now a swap for the lead. We'll see how Polasek responds, if he can get back to the back bumper of Billy Smith, or if the pace that he's been holding back, if he can pull away indeed from the rest of this field. James Huth still there in third, but you see already visibly Billy Smith driving away from Michael Polasek in at least the half a lap that he's been out in front of him. A couple of slower cars out in front of them further down the back straightaway into the bus stop. We'll see how they work this lap traffic as they're really going to start to get into the thick of things. Hasn't been an issue yet tonight, James, but now as we get into the final 18 minutes or so of this race, leaders are going to have to start dealing with slower cars.
Leaders might start dealing with lap traffic. Brian Himmelman here right in front of this group that the leaders are going to have to go around. He'll go high, as you see. Michael Polasek now riding the rear bumper of Billy Smith, and it might be his turn to get all of the draft help that Billy Smith has received for the first 30 minutes or so of this race as they work their way across the tri-oval and the stripe again. But Billy Smith now in control of this race for the first time all evening, as you see a big dive in there and a little bit of a lockup from Leif Peterson, who tried to get a move done on James Huth but couldn't find a way around, as Jason Lisner will work his way through the lap track of Brian Himmelman, and the top five separate themselves once again.
The headlight flashes are real here at this point, as you see him trying to get these guys out of the way. And look at this fight for Jason Lisner and Leif Peterson out of turn 3. Lisner nowhere to go, gets trapped behind the lap car. They're side by side into turn 4 at the kink. They're dangerous, but they get through. Close moments there at the back half of the top 5. These guys are fighting real hard now. You can see the intensity has absolutely been ratcheted up to 10, knowing that we're getting down to the closing stages of this thing. It's going to be close between all these guys for the rest of this race, I believe, but they can get themselves into a mess or force a mistake, that's going to be the easiest way to get a pass. But right now, nobody's really put a wheel wrong except for Michael Polasek opening the door for Billy Smith.
So Brian Himmelman and Javier Trevino get into it in turn 5 there, and I think that's just, a byproduct and something that these lead drivers are going to have to watch out for, especially if you hit lap traffic in that section between the International Horseshoe and the other horseshoe over by turn 5. That's the narrowest part of this racetrack by far, and you're going to have to be very careful about how you navigate your way through lap traffic in the final 15 minutes of this race.
Absolutely. The pass has become more desperate, and when you get desperate, you start making bigger risks, and we've already seen there's very little room for error here around Daytona International Speedway, especially now in the dark. Things look different. It's all about the optics as you sit behind that steering wheel with the headlights guiding you around the track, and of course the natural light as well. Look at them fight for the lead. It's just a reversal of what we saw throughout the first 25 minutes or so of this race. Billy Smith now out in front. Polasek getting the benefit of the draft, but just nowhere to go into one. That defensive line into turn 1 so powerful. Billy Smith continues to hold this lead.
It's very powerful in turn 1, but it's even more powerful in the International Horseshoe, I think, because that's where Billy Smith got the job done, and that's where Polasek opened the door. So something that I think Smith will have to watch. And then the draft, especially coming through the bus stop once you clear it and get around from 3 and 4.
Absolutely. You want to talk about another side-by-side battle. Look at Alberto Fonseca and Trey Drawhorn going at it here down the front straightaway. Fonseca got a great run out of the bus stop onto the banking, now works to the outside. Trey Drawhorn really deep into the braking zone, locks up the left front, squeals that tire, somehow gets it slowed down, but look at Fonseca coming back at him. That was about as deep into turn 1 as you can drive, James, without blowing it. I got to imagine that left front tire's got to be a little bit hurt after that long skid.
And maybe even more importantly, Michael Polasek locked it up, trying to avoid Billy Smith in turn 6, and went around and lost track position, lost a good bit of it here. He slides in, I believe, right behind, looks like Jason Lisner. So Polasek all the way back to 6 now, and that'll be a big development. The pole sitter furthest back of the field that he's been all night long.
Yeah, and going down into turn 6 is where things really went wrong for Polasek as he got into that braking zone, and then the rear end started to come around. Twitched him to the left, and he saved it back to the right. Nice job by James Huth not to hit him. He lights up the rear tires and gets back underway, but loses a lot of time, a lot of track position as well. Unfortunate for him, just more bad luck as he's had this season.
Just, I think, part of the pressure of just trying to get after it and trying to find a way to get back to Billy Smith. He was fighting so hard, but just couldn't quite get on the brakes enough in what is a very, very tricky spot on this racetrack, as Jason Lisner is going to manage to get underneath Lee Peterson and get another position. So Peterson sliding back to the 4th spot, and Lisner goes up to 3rd. So one more spot for that man out of the First Settlers region of the PCA.
That 92 coming to life here in the late stages, and look at James Huth all over the back bumper of Billy Smith through the International Horseshoe as well. Saw a little puff of smoke as he locked up the front tires. You see these guys locking up tires, James, you know they are driving into the braking zones as hard as they can because they want to eat up that gap and try and force somebody into mistake. Another big lunge there from Huth. He is not holding anything back as they work through turn number 5. It may not be too long before we see another guy out front. Billy Smith is going to have to defend from behind one more time.
Billy Smith now going to have to worry about Huth as he gets the drafts, and I think we need to go worry about making sure that a certain feathered friend gets his encore, because the fans have been calling for it all evening, I hear. So, David Schillnhaus, if you would, one more time, please.
I will get him back out here post-haste. Let's do it. Please, cue the Chuck, part 2.
Part 2, indeed. It's like a sequel. So, further reminder one more time that employees and contractors of Podium eSports LLC are ineligible, and any responses after your first in chat will be deleted. You get 1 response per person per broadcast to this trivia question, so make sure that you think before you speak. This one is for all the fans of the drivers in the PCA SRS this season. We have a few that have competed in all 8 races. And if you can name us one of them, you'll get one of those PCA grill badges courtesy of Jim Evans. So just type in a name that you see from one of your favorite drivers. Just run the full season in chat, and you will be rewarded handsomely by the National Committee. While we weren't through that, we'll remind you all that there are plenty of events that the PCA hosts annually. In fact, there are over 3,500 that they host across North America. And between the 10 national events annually and the thousands of regional events, there's a PCA event for every Porsche enthusiast. PCA hosts autocross events, concours d'elegance, drivers' education classes, driving tours, social events, and tech sessions. And for more information, you can visit them at www.pca.org/events. And it will be, goodness, a very, very quick one there, I think, and a very, very good one, as a matter of fact. I think the big national event, I think the parade, especially in Boca Raton, David Schillnhaus, definitely one that PCA members are going to want to be involved with this year.
Boca Raton, absolutely. If I could pick a destination, that would be a fun one to go to, as we've been watching the battle for the lead. James Huth got to the outside of Billy Smith last time down into turn 1, sort of akin to what Billy Smith was doing to Michael Polasek. As we have a winner in chat as well, James. I see somebody got that one right, but this fight for the lead as well, really, really good. James Huth is a man on a mission.
Big congratulations to Jacob Show, one of the 2 I mentioned, as Jim has found it. And Jacob is going to come away with a PCA grill badge. So thank you all for participating in Chuck's trivia questions all season long. And we hope that you've enjoyed getting the chance to play along in chat with our favorite feathered Freds. Coming down to it here in this PCA SRS season finale, and it looks like we're going to have a pretty good battle for the race lead. Billy Smith, James Huth, 1 and 2, and you couldn't put more than maybe a car length or 2 between them, but that's not to say that there aren't some other battles on track that are worth noting. Jason Lisner and Lee Peterson haven't been able to separate themselves from one another. You've got some really good stuff going on between Liam Radzitis, Kyle Kamer. I see Jonathan Schum and Matthew Kikis in there as well. And then I think we have to go back, if my memory serves me correctly, there's also a pretty good battle going on with Trey Drawhorn's group. He's got a little bit of competition right behind him in the form of Jeffrey Schmidt that he'll have to worry about. But Trey definitely a very big fan base here on the PCA SRS broadcast. So we give a shout out to the driver from the Chicago region of the PCA in his efforts to go put together a top 15 finish this season.
He's doing a great job. Remember, he had that big lockup into turn 1 not too long ago, but seemingly no ill effects for his number 395 as he continues to work that 14th position, trying to track down Alberto Fonseca. 2 cars ahead of him as he just clears the 88 of Robert Corzin out of the International Horseshoe. That was close there, but Draw horn free and clear to try and track down Alberto Fonseca for 13th.
And we will very quickly update you on the points here. The championship is largely ramped up, and it will almost certainly go to Billy Smith. If he can maintain this finish here, he'll be in very good shape to get the title. And then Michael Polasek currently sits in second coming into tonight. He had 34 total points, and then after the drops, he'd have 29. So it'll be very, very tight between he and James Huth and I would say Elliott Skier, but Elliott didn't get the chance to make the grid tonight. So I think this is really going to be between Polasek and Huth, and maybe there's something crazy happens then Jason Lisner. But Polasek and Huth definitely with racing up for grabs. That P2 spot in points is all there for the taking. Oh, there goes James Huth, who nearly got into Billy Smith, and he's going to give up some track position too. Here comes Jason Lisner around the 12 machine. So Lisner now in a second.
I'm telling you, this top group has closed right back up, and Lisner threw into the second position after that mistake from James Huth, a rare mistake from the driver, the number 12, Peterson, right there in the back bumper. And, oh, don't forget about our pole sitter, Michael Polasek, has reeled all these guys back in. He has been putting down absolutely amazing lap times after that little mistake down at this end of the speedway right here. He has clawed these 4 guys in front of him right back. So we are going to have a 5-car fight for the win here tonight at Daytona International Speedway, James. Absolutely fantastic stuff. A spirited drive from everybody, absolutely on it. Perfect form around. This is as entertaining as it can get.
A lot of fun here. We've got 2 drivers for the Maverick region of the PCA in Billy Smith and Lee Peterson. We've got Jason Lisner from the First Settlers region. We've got James Huth from the Hudson Champlain region. And then we've got Michael Polasek from the Northern New Jersey region. So a good representation across the East Coast and into Texas as well between the top 5 who are racing for the victory at the World Center of Racing.
They're going to have a whole host of cars in front of them. Well, 3 cars, I should say. Matt Hancock will be the next one off of NASCAR Turn 4. And speaking of off of NASCAR Turn 4, look at Jason Lisner in the 92 to the outside. The same move we have seen done so many times here across the stripe. He will have the lead at the line, but down into Turn 1, that inside lane might be too much. One car goes off right in front of him, not going to be in the way as they go side by side through and around Turn 1. Lisner not able to get the job done. He'll fall back in line.
Really tough there for Lisner to get it done. He definitely breaks into that turn better than just about anyone I've seen. I still think that if you can maintain your momentum on the outside, it's possible to set yourself up for passing the International Horseshoe, but he just quite wasn't able to do it. And so he'll slide back maybe 2 or 3 car lengths from Billy Smith, and now we'll have to worry about Huth and Lee Peterson and Michael Polasek, who, as you noted, has run his way back after that little incident to the back of this group.
You want to know how he did it? He ran 2 seconds faster than the 4 guys in front of him last time by. Absolutely putting down blazing lap times right now with 22 laps up on the board. We're getting down to the final 6 minutes of this thing. It is absolutely anybody's fight at this point. Billy Smith, James Lisner, much like they started the season, James, at Sebring, these 2 fighting for the win here at Daytona.
Pretty easy one here for Billy Smith if he can hang on, but he's got to hang on. That's the key. And as I look ahead of him, it looks like there might be a little bit of lap traffic. It'll be 1 car at a time. They're not really bunched together as they come up on the 113 of Jody Podpora at this time, but it's certainly something you're going to have to watch out for and just something that you're going to have to be wary of as these drivers come through NASCAR 3.
Relatively clean track as Podpora will get out of the way. Everybody stays in a single file line there. The next car that they're going to have to deal with is David Stewart in the 914. Probably going to be a little bit of time before they get to him, but a relatively clean track nonetheless. One more time down the front straightaway. Huth fades to the inside. Is Lisner going to cover the spot? He does. Gets down there to block off the advances of Huth. Now we'll try and set up for turn 1. Everybody just minding their business, knowing that the opportunity opens the door. Look at James Huth, looking not quite room there to get the job done for P2, but they are so close, James. One little mistake could shake up this entire top 5.
I saw exactly what Lisner was trying to do. He was trying to change his line through turn 1 so he could get a good run to the International Horseshoe, and it nearly cost him because he almost opened the door up for James Huth in the 12 machine.
You're going to take the opportunities that are presented to you, especially in these closing laps. Nothing better than somebody leaving that door open for you to walk right through. Lisner one more time into turn 5, just no room there to run underneath Billy Smith. Smith doing a great job running that defensive line, keeping everybody behind him. But as the minutes click off, the desperation goes up. We could see a huge send into one of these corners like that right there from Lisner. Not enough room, but he's making Billy Smith sweat.
Took the big sin there, but that's a big, risky spot to do it, because if you mess it up, you do exactly what Lisner's done here, and you kill your run all the way through NASCAR 1, NASCAR 2, down the back straight, all the way to the bus stop. So you've got to nail it if you go for it there. Lisner didn't quite nail it, so now he's going to lose a lot of track time, and is just going to have to ride the draft as best he can to get back up to the rear bumper of Billy Smith.
That's a great observation, James. It really kills your opportunity to try and set up a pass into the bus stop, just not close enough to make a move. And, well, he was lucky that James Huth was pretty far back, because that little mistake really didn't cost him too much. Huth still far enough back that he's going to get a sniff of that draft, but the top three sort of equidistant from one another as Polasek pulls up on the back bumper of Peterson. We'll see if he pushes him or tries to pass him to catch these three in front of him.
We'll watch and see what Polasek does. He'll jump to the outside of Peterson to try and get the spot. Won't really have much to do with it here as we come closer to the end of this. Working inside the final 4 minutes now, as you see a little lock up there from Billy Smith. And so now, oh, he locked it up a lot. He locked it up a lot. And then Lisner got loose out of the corner. And this could be side by side going into the International Horseshoe right at the end of the final race of the season. Here comes Huth underneath them all.
Unbelievable. One slip up from Billy Smith, and you saw what it did, but Lisner got too excited on the throttle when he saw that mistake and cost himself an opportunity to seize the lead away. They'll stay single file through turn number 4, setting up for 5 in the long run down the back straightaway. If this is the opportunity, should be 2 laps to go right now. Probably going to see the white flag next time by, James. They are running out of opportunities to gain these positions.
Tight stuff here as they work their way through turns 5 and 6 as they come back onto the NASCAR oval here, and a big send from Michael Polasek underneath Lee Peterson. Those two are going to fall back on this front three a little bit as you see Polasek now underneath trying to find a way. Couldn't quite get there, so Peterson will hold on to it for the moment, but I bet Polasek will get a very, very big draft going down the back straightaway. It might be tough for Peterson to hang on to that. And here comes Polasek now down to the bottom, so that might be job done if he can nail the braking zone into the bus stop.
He's not quite there. He's showing the nose. Peterson's ahead. Polasek through the grass to the outside. Yeah, he was just a little too far back to try and make that move. He still went for it, but you see what it did. It's just going to draw these two further back from the top three as Huth and company pull away, fighting for that 4th position. Just not the right place to try and pull that pass off. It was close, just not close enough. Billy Smith onto the front straightaway, a couple cars ahead of him. We'll see. This is going to be close at the line, but I think this is going to be white flag in the air. One more time around for these guys, James, to get the checkered flag.
White flag out for Billy Smith. The championship is almost his. Can he get the race win along with it? Nice entry to turn 1 that time. Lisner is just going to have to hang on as they come to International Horseshoe, and that's a big piece of the job done, because that's one of the trickiest spots on the racetrack to hang on. As you see Lisner die to the outside, he'll cut to the inside, might get a good run off the corner, but Smith will drive away, and I think he'll at least be safe to turn 5.
Not so fast. He's got David Stewart and Robert Franco right in front of him. These two can play a factor in the way they get through these corners. You see Billy Smith flashing the headlights, letting these guys know desperately, hey, the leaders are here. Give us room. Get out of the way. Don't get in the path of the leaders. We're trying to race it out for a checkered flag. Again, flashing the lights down into turn 6. Lisner looking for an opportunity, but it's going to be really hard for him to find something as they're getting by these cars. Look at him get way out of the way.
He'll have one good run here. He's close enough. We'll watch what kind of draft he's going to get through NASCAR 1 and 2 and down to the bus stop. This may be Lisner's best opportunity if he sets this up right, and it may give the opportunity for Huth to do something if these two get into it with one another. Lisner's going to go to the outside of Billy Smith. It may set him up nicely into the bus stop, but I don't know if he'll get the run that he needs coming out of the bus stop, and that will be the one that you need to watch for. He'll go down to the brakes hard. He'll come into the grass. I see the lap car slide up ahead. Billy Smith now gone and away, and he might just be in good shape to win this.
That was Lisner's really good opportunity. He didn't take it super aggressive. Now looking for one big draft through the banking of Daytona for the final time. He's going to need a slingshot help down the front straightaway if he's going to get this checkered flag. Coming to you, James Pike. Last checkered flag in the air.
They could be side by side for the race to win. Lizard to the outside, Smith to the inside. They both coming into the tri-oval, and at the line, it is going to be Jason Lisner who takes it away from Billy Smith with the last lap, last corner run on the banking. Goodness gracious, if that ever was NASCAR style. I mean, shoot, it almost felt like we were watching a restricted plate race at the moment. But Lisner gets the pass done, and out that line, the only thing that matters is that your nose is ahead of the other drivers. You don't need the outright lead on that last lap to get back to it, and Lisner played the draft perfectly to steal the victory away from Billy Smith.
Unbelievable. If you don't like that, you don't like racing. What a job by Jason Lisner, just when we thought all hope was lost when he didn't get through the bus stop that well. Used the draft perfectly to get that slingshot move done on Billy Smith. Smith was defenseless. All he could do was try and bang doors to slow him down, and it wasn't enough. Masterclass on passing there from Jason Lisner, using the draft to get that checkered flag.
Big draft from Jason Lisner. I think I need a breather more than anything just to process all that, because it was such a tight finish and incredible racing there at the end from everybody as we see some of the last few drivers come in and finish off their runs. We see looking and just trying to piece together the last few folks on track, and I think for the most part, here comes Bruce Robinson across the line, and I think Matthew Mitchell should be the last one to finish off this race.
That was just unbelievable. What a classic finish to end this season. And Jason Lisner, for the first time, is going to go to victory lane. You talk about how the season opened up at Sebring with Billy Smith beating Lisner. Lisner returns the favor in the last race of the season. How appropriate.
Lisner gets it done, and I believe that might also be Lisner's first victory of the season, and it is, as I look at points, very conveniently. And Lisner indeed gets his first win in the last race, arguably the biggest race of the season, as everybody all completes their laps and finishes off their run here at Daytona, waiting for race control and the officials at the PCA SRS to hand us the final results for the championship before we announce anything. So while we wait for them to do that, we're going to run to a commercial break, but don't go anywhere, because we're going to run through the full field rundown, talk to your top three finishers in this race, and make sure we spend a word with the champion of the inaugural Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series, which we will find out on the other side of this commercial break. You're watching coverage of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series here on the iRacing eSports Network from Daytona International Speedway. Welcome back to the post-race show for the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series season finale from Daytona International Speedway, where Jason Lisner played the draft perfectly to make the last corner pass on Billy Smith. It was almost like the Corvettes a few years ago at Daytona. Not that that's a brand that anybody on this broadcast would like, but it was that sort of close door-to-door sight racing at the end of this. And Lisner comes away with his first victory of the season in the final race of the year. And as we talk about that, we get the chance to go through the full field rundown and tell you where your favorite driver finished, as Jason Lisner gets his first victory of the year and gets it done and comes home with P1 over Billy Smith, who finishes in second. Third was the 12 of James Hoot. Leif Peterson finishes in the fourth spot. Fifth was the 45 of Michael Polisek. Matthew Kikas finishes in the sixth spot. Seventh will be Liam Rodzitas. Mark Huth, who finished in eighth. Ninth was the 07 of William Yu, and Christopher Pines finished in 10th.
John Waltman comes home in the 11th position. Alberto Fonseca in 12th. Trey Drawhorn, P13. Joseph Stiffel in 14th. Igor Soiker in 15th. Jeffrey Smith in 16th. Charlie Yao 17th. Jason Morski in 18th. Bruce Robinson 19th. And Colin Thomas rounds out the top 20.
21st is Matthew Mitchell. He was the last car on the lead lap. 22nd was the 888 of Kyle Kamer. Richard Franco finished in the 23rd spot. And 24th was David Stewart. Jody Papa finished in 25th. 26th was Matt Hancock. Jason Stanley finished 27th. 28th was Jonathan Shum. Robert Corson finished in 29th. And 30th was Donald Binkley.
Brian Himmelman, P31. Lane McNeil, 32nd. Frank Santori in 33rd, Jeremy Mazzariello 34th, James Sue in 35th, Javier Trevino 36th, Hamilton Smith 37th, Kenny Brown 38th, Juha Matanmaki 39th, and Lynn Wilson rounds out the top 40. Robert Wilson, Michael Knighton, and Richard Minkler are the last three finishers here of 43 cars from Daytona International Speedway.
And so that concludes your full field rundown for the season finale of the PCA SRS. To tell your favorite driver finished. And David, I think we have some people to talk to here, and we'll start off with the man who finished in third tonight, James Huth. We bring James Huth in, and David, I'll give you the chance to talk to the man from the Hudson Champlain region.
Thanks, James. Indeed, got third place finisher here, James Huth, the gentleman racer. James, good to talk to you again, and a great run here tonight at Daytona. What an exciting battle you were in part of there inside of the top five with Jason, Billy, Leaf, and Michael as well. 5 cars under a blanket there in the final 10 minutes or so. So much action. What did it look like from your seat?
Well, I started out in fifth, relaxed a little bit on the start to make sure we all straightened out, fourth or fifth, and then it was a madhouse. We were all just drafting away. I got to tell you, I've really gotten used to racing alongside everybody in that top 5 there, and they're just wonderful guys. They all make room for each other. It's really, really well done, and from the back seat I was looking at, it was crazy.
It was a lot of fun to watch from the booth as well. I'm glad that's the seat that I had. I would have absolutely lost my nerve in the middle of that knot, but it seemed like the draft really played into things here as you worked around this big speedway, especially down the front straightaway. We saw everyone take that defensive line against the yellow line to give the outside and one because it was just so hard to pass, but guys were slipping and sliding, locking up front wheels here and there, looking for the opportunity. That's really all that was available to you. I saw you press the issue a few times, but just nothing there. In those situations, you just sort of take what you got, or did you feel like maybe there was a opportunity or a reward that made it worthwhile to press it a little bit more?
Well, the only reward is in the last couple of laps. Everybody knows if you're second out of the bus stop with a good run, you're first across the finish line. So everybody had a slip here and there. Michael, I feel sorry for. I had a slip right in front of me and jogged off the track. I cut the left and tucked in behind Billy and waited a few laps, but they started to catch up again. So then I started pressing a little bit. But at some point, you've got to relax and know that it's going to come down to the last little bit of a lap.
Well, it certainly was a whale of a battle throughout this entire 45 minutes. There was no relaxing for you guys at all. Nobody was getting away. The draft was keeping everybody pretty close, and you 5 were in a league of your own. And you talk about Michael Polisek spinning off. He chased everyone back down. He was put down amazing lap time. So as the sun went down, night came out, and the headlights came on, how much different did these cars drive?
I really didn't notice a whole lot as far as the time of day. The lights make it bright. I didn't notice a whole lot of difference on the car. I did have to keep cranking my brake bias to keep from locking up the fronts. But I'm a fairly deep braker, but a light braker, and it holds the car well. But you're right. Once Billy got turned back around, and I'm sorry, when Michael got turned back around and chased us down, I was, oh my God, here he comes. I thought there was no way, and he caught right up.
Well, a third place tonight in the finishing order at Daytona, but a second place in the overall standings for the championship. A job well done. How do you feel about your efforts here for this 8-race schedule?
Wow, second place. That's fantastic. I'm overjoyed. I can't believe it. That's fantastic.
Wow, you certainly earned it. Great runs throughout, and you established yourself as one of the favorites. Obviously, Billy Smith was very dominant in some cases and built that big points lead through his skill, but you were right there as well. And it's been an absolute pleasure to watch you this season. As you wrap things up here, I'll give you the opportunity one last time before we sign off for this season to say hello and thank you to everybody who helps power you to the track each and every week.
Well, I want to thank all of you guys over there at the broadcast, because I know especially tonight was going to be really fun watching this thing. Jim Hemig over at the PCA, who's taken this under his wing. It's just a bunch of fantastic people. I want to thank everybody in the league that's been running and being so graceful and accurate and really nice people to race with. It's been a pleasure.
Well, the pleasure has certainly been all ours. James Huth, the gentleman racer, third place here at Daytona, second place in the overall standings. Congratulations on a night and a season well done. We'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir.
So there's James Huth, who gets it done and comes home with the third place finish this evening. And from James, we slide a man who knows a thing or two about getting it done. A little bit of a different order tonight in the interviews, and Jason Lisner comes away with his first victory of the season in the final race of the year. And we're working on getting Jason up here in just a little bit to see what goes on. But Jason, can you tell us a little bit about just how nuts that last lap pass was and how you set that up on Billy?
Woo! So yeah, going into the bus stop, I know I got to thinking, hey, I probably shouldn't pass right here because we had that long straightaway. So I kind of just faked it out a little bit and waited to, that next part.
And it was just sort of a waiting game more than anything else, I assume, just making sure that you timed it right. I saw you go after it coming out of 6 in a NASCAR 1 and 2. And I said on the broadcast, I almost thought that was going to be too early, but somehow you managed to give yourself enough room to get the run out of 4. What was your thinking like on that last lap?
Yeah, it's kind of just, trying to hit my marks and just as soon as I could just get back on the gas.
Make sure that you can find it that way. So it's been a fun season for you here and a big one. And I think unofficially you're going to come home in 4th on points. It was very tight between you and Michael Polisek, but to run this well, not only for you, but for everybody in the First Settlers region of the PCA, what does that mean to you to come away with a run like this in the inaugural PCA SRS?
Yeah, I'm super excited, and it's awesome to be able to represent my local Porsche region. My whole family's in it, my parents, so I'm super stoked about that.
And I think most importantly, how much fun have you had running with the PCA SRS over these last 8 weeks?
I've had a blast. Met some great people, really good racers out there for sure.
And before we let you go, Jason, who do you need to thank for making it possible?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my father and just all my friends and track buddies, for supporting me, and my mom too.
Well, Jason, congratulations on the victory this evening, and congratulations on your finishing the points, and well done to you and everybody at the First Settlers region. Thank you so much for your time, Jason, and congrats one more time.
Thank you.
So there's Jason Lisner who gets it done. And now, I suppose, David Schildhouse, do you want to have a little bit more fun?
I love having fun on a Friday night, James. Let's do it.
Well, how about we go ahead and we bring in the man who finishes third in points officially, Mr. Michael Polasek, who will speak with David Schildhouse here about everything PCA and SRS, both at Daytona and in this PCA SRS season.
Indeed, have Michael here. And Michael, we were just chatting a little bit before we came up into the room to talk about your performance, a recovery drive as you were out front for an early portion of this race, and then a little incident down in turn 6. But you managed to claw back those top 4 and really mix things up. Walk us through the night.
Well, I have to say this was probably one of the most difficult races I've ever done. The pressure from Billy and everyone else was really, really strong, and that really messed with my confidence quite a bit. After Billy got past me, I just braked way too early into turn 2, and that's how he got past me. I just was kind of content to try and chill and follow him, and then I had kind of a little lapse in concentration, and that's when I saw Billy slowing down for the corner onto the oval, and I reacted too late, and to avoid hitting him, I locked the rear brakes and spun.
Yeah, it looked like it just came around, but you did a nice job to not lose it further and really create a tough problem for yourself. Those lightning fast reactions that saved that car, I think.
Yeah, it was really more of just try and get it pointed back in the right direction and just get going as quickly as possible.
Did you have too much rear brake dialed into the car for that one corner? Or was that sort of where you had it all night? Because we were talking with James Huth, and he said he was playing with that brake bias as the race went on.
I've heard, and I really only just kind of set it and just went. During all my practice races, the track had much higher grip because not as many cars are running around it, so the track was colder. I had my brake bias set a bit further forwards, but around here, I just kept locking the front tire, so that's why I moved it slightly back, and then I just thought, like, it's fine, I'm just going to keep it here for the entire race.
So you come home third in the overall point standings, and you got to feel really good about that. As you come to a close of this season, how do you encapsulate what it means to finish in the top 3?
I have to say it's a real honor to be in third place. I'm a little bit gutted that I didn't do better this race and could have finished second, but it's always next season. But this season has been an absolute blast. I've really, really enjoyed every single race. And I've learned so much over the course of this 8 weeks. I really just can't wait for the next one. And I really, really respect Billy, James, Jason, and everyone else for providing really, really good competition and close racing for all of the 8 weeks.
Well said. I think that could be same for anyone who's been paying attention and watching, as you guys have been absolutely at the top of your game, and you have certainly come a long way for when we kick things off at Sebring. An opportunity to win a few races as well. Laguna Seca comes to mind. Of course, tonight you're in the position to win, and so those lessons you talked about that you learned this season, you roll those forward to next season. Should we be expecting to see you in victory lane?
Hopefully, if I can actually put all my ducks in a row and not make silly errors like that, then hopefully. I'm not going to make any promises.
It's good that you're taking the perspective that these are things to learn from and build off of. I think you're going to find a lot more success, and we will find a lot more reasons to talk about you, more so than we already do, all for positive reasons as well. Michael, I'll give you the opportunity, of course, to say hello and thank you to everyone who's been a part of your season to get you home to third in the overall standings.
Holy crap, where do I even start with that? I'd like to thank you guys for putting on an absolutely amazing show. These 8 races, the broadcasts are really, really entertaining to watch, and I love your commentary style, and it's really, really great. I'd also like to thank the PCA for making this possible and really starting to get me to like a car that I actually really didn't like at the start of the season. I'd also like to thank Grand Prix New York Racing for helping improve my driving skills and giving me some real life wheel-to-wheel racing. As I said before, their adult league is absolutely amazing. If you're in like the New York area, then please go there. They're absolutely amazing. I'd like to thank Lone Wolf Motorsports for all their support that they've given me through here and all the encouragement they've given. I'd also like to thank my family as well for analyzing every single race and allowing me to learn the most from all of them, even though I haven't been the most cooperative with them. I'd also like to thank GT Hub as well for all the support they've given me and all the encouragement they've given me as well. And I'd also like to thank the NNJR PCA region. I hope I did my region pretty proud, even though this race didn't go as planned.
Michael, I want to come in here very briefly, and I think from our ends, you've earned a special shout out from everybody here at Podium, just because there's a lot behind the scenes that happens that a lot of people don't see in the day to day. And I think we've got to give you credit for being one of the most, if not the most active person within the back end of this series, helping answer questions and chat for people and organizing all the practice sessions here. It's definitely been something that's made this series go very smoothly and made it, I think, a lot more fun for people and given the chance to give a lot more people experience on these circuits before they go racing on Friday night. Not everybody had to do that, and not a lot of people stepped up to do that, but it seemed like every week you came in and did something on that front. So I think on everyone on Podium's behalf, a big thank you, Michael, for all that you've done throughout these past 8 weeks for the PCA SRS.
Thank you. I don't intend to stop.
I have a feeling that I'm not going to complain about that ever, and I don't think any of us are going to complain about that either. But, Michael, again, a congratulations to you on a very strong season and a good run of the points, and hopefully it won't be too long before we see you again.
Thank you.
So there is Michael Polasek, who comes home with that strong finish in points and gets it done and comes home P3 in points, and that leaves us with one more man here, and we bring him in for a very special interview. We bring in Billy Smith, who comes home in P2 this evening, and we'll start by talking about this race individually. Billy, not quite the finish that you wanted. Take us through those last few laps and just getting around Michael to holding off everyone to the battle with Jason at the end.
Well, thanks. I think I'll just start with Michael. I mean, I was just trying to put some pressure on, just trying to feel out where I might be able to get a pass. And I don't know if International Horseshoe, if he slipped up or something. I kind of didn't really intend to make the pass there, but went with it and made it stick. And quickly, though, like by about lap 3, I realized that it was probably going to come down to a photo finish just because of the nature of the track, unless something crazy happened. So was in the lead, and they were dicing back there for a bit. And with traffic, I didn't know if I was going to get away or if it was going to, slow us all down, which is what happened, and kept us all nice and close there. And when Jason went to pass me, I kind of braked conservatively. I didn't want to overshoot the corner, and I didn't know if he was actually trying to pass or what. And then when he actually made the corner, I tried to back it up a little bit just to make sure I got a good run. And there was, basically it was a sitting duck from then on.
Fair, yeah, definitely can't argue with that, but that happens at Daytona every once in a while, and I think especially with the slightly slower top speed of these GT3 cars, they don't have the pace of the 911 GTLM, for instance. It makes the draft a little bit more significant, especially on the straightaways here at Daytona, and there's sometimes nothing you can do about it. But the other bit that I'm curious to know about is whether or not you noticed a huge transition in the track and the way it raced as the sun went down and the moon came up.
Well, I've done the Rolex 24 here and everything, and it's the grip does start gripping up in the track a little bit, but we're pushing so hard that the tires are also wearing out. So I didn't really notice a lot of changes in grip level or how far we could really push. Maybe in some areas of the track and lose it in others, but the transition into the darkness and also the sunrise, if you get to experience that as well, is just amazing in iRacing. And so that just adds a little bit extra to it.
It makes it a little bit of fun here. And how did Daytona race differently compared to some of the other tracks on the schedule this year? It's a race that I thought in a lot of ways was just not going to be the same as any of the other tracks we went to. And how do you felt like it compared from your perspective?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it's a big problem I say a problem, but a big, I guess, just way that Daytona is being locked in a draft. So you can't get away. And even in multi-class racing, until you get into lap traffic, you're kind of stuck together. Even if you get a 1 second lead, they're going to reel you back in. And so I kind of knew from the very beginning that's how this race was going to be. We saw a little bit of that at the other tracks, but it's just amplified at Daytona, like you said.
amplified at Daytona and different from the other tracks, but we have some very good news for you at the end of this because we can confirm after the points have been tallied up, Billy Smith, you are the inaugural Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series champion. And the first question I have on that front for you is, what does that mean to you more than anything else?
It's just an awesome feeling. I I didn't really know what to expect coming into this PCA Sim Racing Series, and just the competition has just been incredible, incredibly tough, and it's really really awesome to be able to come out on top when you have that much talent and the races are just that fierce.
And as you look back through the season, just to talk about some of the fun moments that you've had and what stood out to you about this PCA SRS.
It's like just the way it's run, the way that just the communication, the broadcast. You guys, I know that Podium eSports is pretty new, and you guys are doing an awesome job. So I've enjoyed going back and watching the races, kind of recapping with what happened with everyone else. Just the whole PCA Sim Racing Series, the way it's run, the competition, everything about it. It's been a blast, and just exceeded my expectations for sure.
And I think at this time, before I ask anything else, I know he's been itching to say something. So with us, we have Jim Hemmick, the marketing director of the Porsche Club of America, here with us to present you the inaugural Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series Championship. Jim, it's all yours.
Well, thank you, Mr. Pike. Congratulations, Billy Smith. That was just one incredible season. 8 races of just tight wheel-to-wheel action. And I know I speak for many PCA members that have been watching. Thousands and thousands of people have been watching this. And we were just in awe at the driving skill that everybody out there has shown. But you consistently, week in and week out, have been at the top. And just incredible driving skills. But also great sportsmanship. And I know just on behalf of the national staff at the Porsche Club of America, we'd like to thank you for setting such a high bar for our first season. So congratulations. And you are the first place winner. And I think you probably know this, but maybe for the folks that are watching this on YouTube, the first place winner of this series gets a all expense paid trip to a Porsche Experience Center. That's either in Los Angeles or Atlanta. You get to pick, and you get an hour and a half driving experience with either a 911 Turbo or a GT3. You also get lunch at either the Restaurant 356 or the Restaurant 917. You also get to play on the Porsche Experience Center simulator. You get a Porsche product bag, and this includes flight and hotels. And this is complimentary of our friends over at Porsche Cars North America. They supplied the grand prize for the winner. And you also get $100 in iRacing credits from iRacing. They've supplied that. But what's most important, I think, for us as fans is just to say thank you for the great season and great drive, and hope you enjoy your first place prizes.
Well, thanks, Jim. I definitely appreciate it. And I did have to say, I was just sitting here listening to you and thinking about everything. And I definitely have to say that Porsche Club of America is by far and away the best car club in the world. And for everyone out there, if you're not a member of the PCA, you need to join. And if you don't have a Porsche yet, you need to go get one and then join the PCA.
I could not have said that any better myself. Thank you.
Well, thank you for all the hard work you put in. I know it's been a lot of work, and I know everyone in the series appreciates it. I appreciate it, and it's been awesome, and looking forward.
Yeah, it's been fun watching the page views grow each week after the broadcast, and people catch up with it. And I suspect we'll probably top out somewhere in the 15 to 17,000 page view range for first season. That's some great stats. But thanks again, Billy, and thank you, Podium eSports, David and James. You guys have done a fantastic job. Everybody at Podium eSports, we sure appreciate your efforts and putting this whole thing together for us.
And I think a big thank you to everyone at the PCA and to everyone who has helped make this possible. I'm going to sort of roll through top to bottom and make sure that we touch on everything the right way. So first, let me turn to Billy and make sure that before we let him go, Billy, as the champion, who do you need to thank for making it possible?
Thank you guys. Thank the PCA, Jim, specifically, everyone else behind the scenes that we probably don't know about. Thanks to all of my friends and family that are all watching, all the other fans out there are watching. See lots of, cheers for different drivers in the chats and different places in Facebook, and that's really awesome.
First off, a big congratulations to you, our champion, Billy Smith, and go enjoy that. I guess maybe that's the last question. Do you know which Porsche Experience Center you think you're going to try and head to?
I'm not sure yet. I do know which car I'm going to pick.
Are you willing to share? Or are you going to keep that a secret for yourself?
GT3 for sure.
I had a feeling he had. I mean, you just won the championship with a GT3. Why not, right?
Good choice.
Well, Billy, once again, on behalf of everybody at PCA and at Podium, congratulations on your championship. And same as Michael, hopefully it won't be too long before we see you again.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
And so from Billy, we turn to Jim. And Jim, I think we echo the sentiments that you said that this is one that I know Doug Atkinson in particular had wanted the PCA to get on for a long time. And somehow he managed to get your ear in the national office and make this happen. And then we got dragged into it and brought into it. And by the end of it, I'll say I've had a lot of fun personally watching all of this transform and just unfold before my eyes. And it's been such a pleasure to work with everybody at the Porsche Club of America. And we hope that you all have enjoyed your time with Podium as well.
Oh, definitely. It's been a very fast and fun 8 weeks. Can't believe how fast that whole thing went by. Yeah, we as a car club, we're always looking for new programs and fun things to do for our membership. And this has been kind of a work in progress over the last year or so, with members asking the club to do something with sim racing. And so we had 3 questions we wanted to ask. We wanted to know if our club members would be interested in this, and we wanted to know if we could actually produce something of this caliber, and then whether people would actually watch it and enjoy the broadcasts. And I think this first season proved all 3. That is definitely possible. And now we're asking the question, what's next? And we're looking forward to continuing this into the future and maybe coming up with some new ways to do sim racing. But we think there's an audience. We think there's an interest from our membership. So we're going to keep moving forward.
I think, again, it's been the pleasure to work with the PCA on this. And if you need people to help you out, I know we've got a few creative guys that have more than a few wild hairs when it comes to coming up with serious ideas and everything. Yeah. So, you know who to call. And although Ghostbusters wouldn't be a bad place to start, I don't know if they can necessarily give you any much more than this dog.
You guys have done a fantastic job. So thank you very much. And there will be more.
Well, thank you, Jim, as always, and we look forward to chatting more with the PCA. So I figure we'll let you go on, run off and get whatever sleep or whatnot you need, but we'll be chatting soon. Thanks again, Jim.
Okay. Good luck. See you.
So there's the marketing director of the Porsche Club of America and the national office's main point man on all things marketing, Mr. Jim Hebig. And David, I guess now we finally get the chance to enter the Shield House of final thoughts on this final broadcast of the PCA's inaugural season.
Well, what more is there to say that hasn't been said already? Just you hear the emotion of Billy Smith and everyone else involved and what it means to run this series, to be a proud member of the PCA. And like Billy Smith said, if you have a Porsche and are not a member of the PCA, what are you waiting for? It's $46. Make sure you join, and you can join on this fun as well. And if you don't have a Porsche, he made it sound so easy. Just go out and get one of those too. So I'll be looking this weekend at Porsches. But in all seriousness, just a fantastic series. It's been so entertaining over the past 8 weeks to watch. We've had some very worthy winners, a very worthy champion in Billy Smith. And I cannot wait for season number 2 to come right back here.
it's been so much fun with the PCA SRS. This has been our first foray into road racing with Podium eSports, and it definitely is something that we all have a soft spot for. Yes, it's true that a good chunk of us come from an oval background, and that's what we've seen more of, but that's not to say we don't appreciate the racing. I know personally I make a very, very keen habit of staying up for the Daytona 24 hours and watching that every year, and along with a lot of the other races that you see between Le Mans and the European Le Mans Series, the Asian Le Mans Series, the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, and even the Pilot Challenge here in North America. We do love us some road racing, and I think we've all had a ton of fun with the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series in its inaugural season. Before we
couldn't
go,
imagine a better partner, James. I enjoyed sharing the booth with you. I enjoyed sharing this experience with the PCA and all the drivers who took place. Very appreciative, very thankful to say that I was here for the first inaugural season of the PCA Sim Racing Series.
and obviously been a lot of fun to work with you, David Shadhouse, as always. Certainly something that we'll definitely love here. Jim, you snuck back in here. Is there something else that you need to note, or one more point that you need to make? We'll give you the floor here. It is your show after all.
Oh, I thought the broadcast was over. I'm just going to thank you guys again.
Fair enough, fair enough. We're not quite done yet. We'll remind everyone that if you enjoy the broadcast on Podium, then make sure you come around next week for a little bit of action on the Podium eSports Network. Our regular home is twitch.tv/Podium eSports, and we'll go short track racing at Thompson Speedway with the Cars eSport Tour before we get a little bit of racing in with the Elite Series at Daytona, incidentally, and then the Truck Series at Eldora next week, and that Sunday following Easter. So we got more action there, obviously. And if you like what you've seen here and you think David and I are worth spending enough time with on your weeknight evenings, the twitch.tv/Podium eSports is your normal home. And oh, by the way, Cisco is always there to keep us in check if we screw something up. But let's see if we need to think before we go off air for this broadcast. And I think we start with all of the interview guests that I can think of. We think of Vu Gwyn from PCA, Jim Hemming from PCA, Mark Harston from Porsche Cars North America, William Yu, one of the drivers out of the Los Angeles chapter, Ryan Carrington out of the PCA, the man who runs all their club racing stuff, Tom Gorsuch, who came on tonight. There are probably a few more that I'm going to completely botch. I think Elliot Skier also was in these as well. David, you can probably touch on maybe the one or two that I missed. I think Eric Peterson was also in as well. Yep, as you come in, just catch me up in there. Is there anybody else that I'm missing on that front?
No, those are the two that I talked to while you were away, was Elliot Skier and Eric Peterson. Eric Peterson, very worthy cause as well. We saw that emotional video at the beginning of that race before gosh, what track was that we were talking to him at? That was, oh gosh, what save me here, James? I'm floundering all of a sudden. That was
Road America, maybe?
Nope, the one after that. Nope, not that one.
Not Laguna Seca. Oh goodness, wow, this makes me feel really silly.
That really short one. Oh my gosh, it's been a long season. I apologize.
We're already losing our dates and everything. How about Summit Point? Yeah, that's what
nope, not that one either. Lime Rock Park, thank you. Well, yes, we talked to Eric before Lime Rock.
Eric at Lime Rock. Okay, fair enough. Goodness gracious. Yes, we're all getting mixed up here. So
we're usually pretty good at this.
Usually a little bit better, but so a thank you to everyone that's interviewed. Thank you to all the drivers who have taken part in this. Thank you to everybody at the PCA that's helped make this possible, and Jim especially as you're sitting here. And thank you all in the audience who have been watching week in, week out. We hope you've enjoyed these broadcasts. We hope that you've enjoyed everything here. And I think before we get to our podium people, a very special thank you to Doug Atkinson for helping being the driving force behind this series from the PCA. And without him, I'm not sure if we even would have a PCA SRS. So a big thank you to Doug for helping set up all of this and make it possible. And then we finally get the chance to get to our little bits at Podium, and I can finally close this out the normal way and say, for DJ Lyon, for Gary Sexton, for Kyle Barnes at Podium eSports, for our producer for all these races, Cisco Scaramuzza, for James Grahula that took part in these broadcasts for a few of these races, for David Shothouse, my partner in the booth this evening, and for everyone at Podium eSports. I am the voice of Podium eSports, James Pike. Thank you so much for watching the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series in its inaugural season. Once again, we'll be at it on twitch.tv/Podium eSports coming up next Wednesday evening, and that will be our next event. We hope to see you all over then, and we look forward to putting together a few more road racing events in the future. Everyone enjoy the Easter weekend and have a happy Easter to those of you celebrating, and hopefully it won't be too long before we see you all out on the racetrack. From the World Center of Racing at Daytona International Speedway, good night.